Hey, welcome once again to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling. Thank you for tuning in. Classic rock vinyl by a certain artist. I go through my personal collection and show what's inside them. Front covers, back covers, any special inserts, imports, anything like that that I may have picked up along these many years of collecting. Today's episode will probably be a long one. It's a Van Halen episode. You can see that by the shirt I'm wearing. And I'm going to cover all the bases that I can cover in this one episode. In other words, I'm going to do my Van Halen vinyl, then I'm going to do my David Lee Roth related vinyl, then I'm going to do my Sammy Hagar related vinyl, because I happen to like it all. So, we get started with the Van Halen vinyl. It's 100 million degrees in here today, but the show must go on. Start off with the Van Halen vinyl, as I said. This is the iconic, classic, self-titled Van Halen album. Their first album from 1978. The copy that I have is a little bit beat up along the side, and it's got some ring wear along here, but you've just got the 4 pictures of the band, back cover. Diamond Dave doing a big backflip. This liquid paper or something got on the back cover of this. It's a really beat up copy. This is a Canadian edition, as it does down at the bottom here, and the credits are written like this, up and down. We'll see what's in the record itself. Inner sleeve. The inner sleeve's seen better days. Interesting to note that David Lee Roth is listed as David Roth on this album. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Some credits there. Just the classic Van Halen logo. And we'll see what the record looks like. Vinyl's actually in pretty good shape considering how poor the rest of the album, the packaging is. This is a typical Warner Brothers logo at the time. Warner Brothers logo there, sort of white lined paper, almost like off-white colored loose leaf. And that's the first Van Halen album. Next up, Van Halen 2. Came out in '79. I like this album cover for its simplicity. It says Van Halen 2 along the top here. Photo of the band. Credits, song titles, more credits. This is a US edition. You see the band here on stage. A few things to note. Michael Anthony's got some bell bottoms on here, some serious bell bottoms. Alex Van Halen has flaming drumsticks, and David Lee Roth is doing one of his patented splits. Keep this split in mind for a look at the inner sleeve. So here we go. Can't really see from this picture, but he landed wrong apparently when he did that split and hurt his foot. So his foot's bandaged up. He's sitting on a stool, and there are some ladies here, some nurses who are waiting to help Diamond Dave out. That's Alex Van Halen, Eddie, and Mike. This is a hard plastic sleeve, and these ones last way better than paper sleeves or plastic sleeves, obviously. Here's the record itself. Same Warner Brothers label. Record, not only record company, but I mean label on the record itself. But sometimes I use label and sleeve and mix and match the terms. Third Van Halen album, 1980. Women and Children First. Silver, everything's silver here. The logo's in silver, a line under it, and a photo of the band. Back cover. Again, there's a silver tint to everything. There's a cool black and white photo of the band. Song titles, some credits here. This is a Canadian edition, so it's got a maple leaf up here, which Warner Group or WEA Group records in Canada from 1980 to I think about 1983 always did that. They had a maple leaf up in the corner. Originally this record came with a poster of David Lee Roth chained up in a dog pound. Now, now that I look at this, I realize I've got the wrong sleeve on this record. This is actually from Diver Down. We'll get to that in a minute. So obviously I don't have the original sleeve that came with Women and Children First. This is the correct record, I assure you. You probably can't see it from here, but It's that. 1981. My personal favorite of all of the David Lee Roth Van Halen albums, Fair Warning. Love this album. Probably the least popular of the albums they did with Dave too. This artwork, front cover and back cover, is based on a cover painting by a guy named Kurelik. And I hate it when I have these memory lapses when the camera's running, but it's based on a bigger painting. You can check it out if you want, if you're interested in seeing where some of these icons came from. This is actually just part of a much, much bigger painting. This is a Canadian edition as well. Maple Leaf up in the corner. There are the song titles on this one. The song titles are not written in the order that they appear in the album. That would happen occasionally. I have no idea why. A photo of the band, black and white photo. Here we have some credits there. This is loosely, it's not exactly word for word, but it's kind of some lyrics from the song Mean Street. Vinyl in really good shape. Still using the same Warner Brothers logo. That's Fair Warning. 1982, the next Van Halen album, Diver Down. Very simple cover, semaphore cover. This literally means diver down if you're swimming or boating or whatever it means. It's a nautical thing. So the back cover, song titles, the continuation of the stripe down through, pictures of the group. This is a Canadian edition, as you can see up here by the Maple Leaf. And I absolutely love this live shot. This is when Van Halen opened a few shows for the Rolling Stones. If you can't see it from here, they are just taking a bow in front of a massive, massive stadium audience. Love that picture. So, okay, here we go. Does this look familiar? This is the actual sleeve for Diver Down, where it belongs. You can believe that. These are some photos of the group on and off stage. These are things that are not as noticeable on cassettes and CDs, and in some cases they weren't included at all. Warner Brothers logo there. Next up on the Van Halen agenda, the year and the album, 1984. This is the biggest selling Van Halen album, of course. A lot of people, if they had one Van Halen album, it was this one. For some reason, flip that over. It's not as you would think, so we gotta crank that around. Oh, there's a Maple Leaf there, because they did use this into the early 80s. Of course, this album always perplexed me. It's called 1984. It was released in January, early January of 1984, and yet it has a copyright date of 1983 on it. It's just one of those things where an album was really finished so late in the year that it actually came out the following year. I've always considered it to be from 1984. Never understood what these things here are. It looks like something you'd see in a science lab. Sort of a digitized photo of the group. And obviously this was the last album that they did with David Lee Roth for quite some time. Still the same Warner Brothers logo here. Next up, of course, big change. David Lee Roth out, Sammy Hagar in. 5150, the first album by this line, the Van Hagar lineup, which is an expression I hate that expression. So that's the 5150 cover. This is where the logo went from just simply wings to this ring design. Back cover. This is a U.S. edition. It's actually manufactured by RCA Music Service. Now, I wasn't a member of RCA Music Service, but then again, most of my vinyl isn't new either. So that's the picture of the new Van Halen logo, even though it's a lot like the last one. The lyrics to the songs and a little bit of credits here. Still the same Warner Brothers logo here. Hasn't changed yet. Up next, the next Van Halen album, OU812. And this album The copy that I have has never been opened. I did buy this new in a markdown situation. It's got the sticker on it with all the song titles on it. Back cover. And this is a Canadian edition. I'm not opening this up, so it's my OU812 record. I have a few that are unopened. Actually, this one is too. Rare that an album came out in 1995 on vinyl, but this one did. This was Van Halen's Balance album, and that's the tour that I saw them on. That's where I got this shirt. These photos are found inside this album, although I'm not going to open it, but it's inside the CD, so it must be inside here too. Picture of the group. This is it's got an import sticker on it, so I bought it in Canada, but it's a U.S. import. There weren't too many vinyl being made at that time, so I definitely made a point to buy it. And now we get to the very newest Van Halen album from 2012, the reunion album with David Lee Roth. This is A Different Kind of Truth. This is actually a double album set. It's a single CD, but CDs hold more music than records do. The logo is embossed, it's raised, and it's actually so is this train. I love the idea of having new albums on vinyl, even though I'm not going to open this because I don't think there's any need. So this Different Kind of Truth. So as you can see, I'm missing a couple Van Halen vinyl, but got most of them. So now we're going to head into David Lee Roth solo stuff. I don't have a lot. We'll talk about what I do have. 1985, this was his 4-song EP, Crazy from the Heat. There's the front cover there, back cover. This is a Canadian edition. Picture of Dave. Some information. These are just the song titles. There's only 4 songs on this. So. Here's the record itself. Next up, probably the best David Lee Roth solo album, definitely the most successful, Eat 'Em and Smile. This came out in 1986, the same year that Van Halen, of course, released 5150. This is a Canadian copy. So there's the song titles, the band, and it was a great band. Some more pictures of the band here. Billy Sheehan, Steve Vai, great Bishnette. And credits, not the lyrics, but the credits, and who played on each song. Pretty extensive credits inside this too. Now this one, okay, this is a little bit different. It's just a picture of Dave from the front cover. On the other side, it says Other Side. So this is actually side 2. This side, the other side, side 1. So all of the song titles are listed here. There are about a handful of albums in my collection that are like that. I don't have a lot like that. 1988 was the next David Lee Roth solo album, Skyscraper. Of course, Dave's an avid mountain climber. This was a bargain thing. It's got a chunk taken out of the bottom of this record. It's a US edition. Inner sleeve. And the lyrics and all the credits. And here we go. Apparently Dave liked this type of thing. So here's this is side 1, and it's got the same graphic as on that inner sleeve that I just dropped there. And here we have side 2, Other Side, this side. I don't have any other David Lee Roth vinyl. I think A Little Late Enough was released on vinyl, but I don't have it. So that's Van Halen. It's David Lee Roth. Now we move on to the Red Rocker, Sammy Hagar, which there's actually more vinyl here than I've covered so far because Sammy has such a long career. So we'll start off with the first 2 albums by Montrose, Sammy's first recording band. So here we go. Not a great album cover, but I highly recommend any hard rock fan check this album out. It came out in 1973 on Warner Brothers Records, and it's a great, great album. Front cover's not great, back cover no better. Canadian edition, you can tell because of this maple leaf, which tells me this was probably reissued sometime in the 80s, because I don't think that records did that in the 70s, but I'm not sure. Band members and a few credits here too. And inside this copy that I have, I merely have a plastic sleeve, Warner Brothers logo, Montrose released several albums, but only the first two featured Sammy Hagar, so only the first two I bothered looking at. This came out in 1974, paper money, very bland sleeve, not much to it. I almost missed this one when I was looking for it. Let's turn this around. This is a Canadian issue as well, but unlike the first album, there's no maple leaf up here, which tells me that this is an original from 74. A few credits here, and the song titles. And there's no sleeve in this whatsoever, just the record itself. Although it does have a different Warner Brothers logo on it. It has the Burbank with the palm trees logo on it. I've seen Deep Purple and Alice Cooper records like this, so it's interesting to see that. This big scratch. Wow, there's some big scratches on this record. I don't listen to my vinyl that much. That's what my CDs are for, but if I wanted to, wouldn't have a very good job. Now I'm going to head into Sammy Hagar's solo career, of which there are a lot. And a lot of these were very, very, very hard to track down, because none of them, in his early years particularly, were all that successful. This is the first Sammy Hagar solo album, 9 on a 10 scale, written along the top here, a little bit of ringwear too. This came out in 1976 on Capitol Records. There's an old Capitol logo up here. Here's the back cover. This is a US edition. There's the song titles. Some credits down here on the bottom. So the Capitol logo, EMI. This copy I have just came in a white paper sleeve, and this has the 70s Capitol logo, just orange with Capitol kind of sunk into the bottom here. Vinyl's actually in pretty good shape. Next Sammy Hagar album came out in 1977. It's self-titled, but is often referred to as the Red Album for obvious reasons. Just about everything on this album cover is red, and this is where Sammy Hagar, I think for the first time, also because the song Red is on here, became known as the Red Rocker. This is kind of where that began. So we'll flip this around. This is a US version. Song titles, credits, and a lot more red. Just a plain plastic sleeve for this one. This has a Capitol label, but this one is green, and I think it's because it's a reissue. I think that might be why that is, why it's not the orange one. Not 100% sure about that. Along the way on any of these, if somebody picks up something that I get wrong, please leave it in the comments. I'd rather get it right. So the next Sammy Hagar solo album came out in 1977. Musical chairs. He had very short hair at this point, so it's easy to, if you're looking for the records by Sammy and you don't know what they all look like, it's easy to miss this one. There's an interesting logo he's got it written in up here, but you probably can't see that. Weird album cover. It's Hypnosis that did this cover, and you can tell. It's like Pink Floyd or UFO. Very unique look. And on the back, it appears that Sammy is now a karate teacher and is teaching his band a few moves. Anyway, song titles and credits. Yeah, this is a US version as well. Different looking sleeve for this one. Not just white, it's got some pattern around it. And this is also a reissue, so it's got this green logo. I'm beginning to think I'm right about that, and that's what they used for the reissues. Now, granted, it was probably reissued in the very early 80s, not too many years after the original thing came out. Next up, 1978, Sammy's live album, All Night Long. So it says All Night Long up along the top here. This is, somebody put one, like sort of a filmy piece of tape on here that I couldn't quite properly remove. Capitol logo down at the bottom, and the letters in Sammy Hagar are all raised here. Back cover, serious ringwear here. This is a US copy. There's the song titles. This is a gatefold, so it folds out into some shots of Sammy and the band on stage and some further credits. This is actually a really good album. If we're going to explore Sammy Hagar's Capitol Records album catalog, I'd start with this one. So now we're at the Capitol logo that I'm the most used to seeing, this purple logo here with sort of the dome over Capitol. And that's what was used on All Night Long. (1979), Street Machine. There's a Capitol logo down at the bottom here, and again the letters are raised. Back cover. This is a US version. So here's the Sammy and his band dressed all in white with, of course, a red car in the background, and for you fact collectors, that appears to be the Starship Enterprise on Sammy Hagar's t-shirt. Red sleeve, big surprise, it's all handwritten on here, the song titles and the credits. Picture of Sammy on the back cover. This one has a custom sleeve. So what we have here is a shot of Sammy jumping up in the air that actually appeared somewhere on the All Night Long record. It's interesting because he was never that big that he was Capitol Records, but they must have thought he was going to be. Otherwise artists didn't tend to get custom labels. Now, All Night Long came out in 1978 in North America and probably most of the world. In the UK, it came out in 1979, only under a different title and a different cover. This is loud and clear. This is a hard record to track down. Hard record to track down. Different cover than All Night Long. Flip it around. So it's the same songs that are on All Night Long with the addition of a live version of Space Station No. 5 from the first Montrose album. A live version of it. Hard to find. And even though this is a UK version strictly on EMI, they usually didn't use Capitol over there. There is a Capitol logo on this. I'm kind of puzzled by this whole thing. And here's some photos, some credits. If you look at them, it's the same credits that are inside of the All Night Long record, because that's essentially what this is. And the record itself, here we go. It's all this says. This is side one. It says Sammy Hagar loud and clear. And like David Lee Roth, oddly enough, here's what he did. Side one and side two. He's got all the song titles listed on one side of this record. This in the vinyl here is in really good shape. 1980. Sammy's final studio album for Capitol Records, Danger Zone. No relation to Kenny Loggins. So photo of the band, or photo of Sammy, Danger Zone. And his name written along here. His band written along the, or band photo here. This is actually a Canadian edition, which is rare because his Capitol albums are hard to find. They're even harder to find in Canadian editions. So this is a Canadian version of Danger Zone. Song titles. And let's see what's inside here. Some pictures mixed with the credits. I don't like the way the credits are spread everywhere along here. It's just about impossible to read. Another picture. And the record itself is in the usual purple Capitol label that would be used for most of the 80s. Till about 85, I think, actually. In 1981, Sammy Hagar switches record labels to Geffen Records. And this is his first Geffen album, Standing Hampton. Very artsy cover. And back cover. This is a Canadian edition. You can tell by the maple leaf up here. There's also a Warner logo sticker on here that appeared on certain albums. I don't know. Some albums I have from the same time period have it, some don't. Song titles. These are the lyrics and credits and a picture. The album itself is Geffen logo as it appeared in the early 80s, which is essentially the Warner Brothers, what looked like loose leaf. It's got the Geffen logo on it. That logo, the logo would eventually change. Alright, 1982. This is Rematch. And what this is a best of album from Capitol Records, which is usually what labels would do. When an artist would switch record labels and go on to more success, they would put out another album to try to cash in on that success. Not the easiest one to find. This is actually also a Canadian edition. It's the incorrect sleeve inside of it. It's an A&M sleeve, so we won't even talk about that. It's just better than having nothing at all. This album is completely scratched, so it's not even playable. I will find a better copy of this someday, but it's rare enough. It's enough to me to say that I have it and I can listen to the music on CD. So that's the purple Capitol logo for Rematch. Now we're going to head back to Geffen. Here's for a bit. 1982, 3-lock box. Possibly my favorite Sammy Hagar record, album, whatever you want to call it. Back cover. This is a US edition, so here are all the credits along here and the song titles. I've just got a plain plastic sleeve, but now this one's neat. It actually has Geffen Records on the sleeve itself, so it's kind of rare. Printing has changed a little bit. It still looks like a Warner Brothers logo, but the printing's changed actually quite a bit. Vinyl's in good shape, really good shape. Capitol Records are far from done though with Sammy Hagar's back catalog. So 1983, they put this out. Sammy Hagar Live 1980. This is hard to find too. And this is a Canadian edition. This is a curtain that's about to drop on stage. This is recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon in London in 1980, but this album didn't come up till 83. And the Capitol logo had changed at this point. It's become this black logo with the multicolors around it. Next up, 1984, Sammy Hagar's most successful solo album. This is VOA. Here he is parachuting onto the White House grounds. Very patriotic, with his red guitar and his red jumpsuit that he and his band all wore these sort of suits at the time. You can see on the back here, they appear to be passed out or asleep in a lobby or an office. They're all in chairs. Doesn't look overly comfortable. And the picture is upside down. This is a Canadian edition. Another picture of the band. Credits. Picture of Sam. And this is the typical Geffen Records logo that would be used for the rest of the 80s at this point on, just black with a silver logo. After Sammy Hagar joined Van Halen, he owed his record company one more album. It eventually came out in 1987. There's an interesting story behind this. It was originally self-titled. There was an MTV contest where the album ended up being called I Never Said Goodbye, but it wasn't in time for the album to come out, so it came out as self-titled. It was reissued a few years later with the title intact. Now the copies I have on record and CD are self-titled, which makes them, I think, a little bit more valuable. Now the packaging, this is when CD packaging was new. If you've got this on cassette, it looks totally different. If you've got this on cassette, what you've got is this picture here, the white background, Sammy all in black jumping up in the air. That's also what was on the CD long box package. But the CD itself and the record have this cover on it. Now, I wish I hadn't have done this, but this clear sticker and this clear sticker were on the plastic. I bought this new in like 1990. And like a fool, I took the plastic off and stuck it on the record, so I can't remove it. But this is Sammy Hagar, includes the hit single Give to Live, and on the back cover, it's got side 1, side 2, and some credits. So I stuck them on there. Here are the lyrics, a little bit of credits down here. He liked his big photos on the other side of the sleeve. And here we have the record itself, the usual Geffen logo. For Never Say Goodbye. Now, a couple more things to show you. In 1984, In between Three Lockbox and VOA, Sammy formed a mini group with Neil Schon from Journey, Kenny Aronson, and Michael Shreve, HSAS, and they put this one album out called Through the Fire. This is really hard to find. You don't see this album very much. It's got a couple really good songs on it too. This is a Canadian edition. This is a maple leaf up here in the corner. Years later, this was issued on CD again. For a while, it was really, really, really hard to find. And this still has the older Geffen logo on this one, interestingly enough. I've got one more record to show you for Sammy Hagar. In 2009, he formed another band called Chickenfoot, which you may or may not have heard of. They put out 2 albums so far, and I have the first one on vinyl. So this is the debut album from Chickenfoot. Came out in 2009. It's not opened. It's a double record set. And it's Joe Satriani, Chad Smith, Michael Anthony, and Sammy Hagar. Now this says includes bonus track and free one-time download. The download, I can't remember what it was to, but I'm not opening it obviously. So this record is like the CD to Chickenfoot's first album in that it looks like it's completely black in the background, but if this gets hot, it's a really neat thing what happens. And I'm not want to take a chance at the plastic melting to this, but there are actually photos of each member of the group under here in like a brown sepia tone. That comes out as this heats up. Same thing with the back cover. Here's side A, side B, side C, side D, and the numbers, but you can't see the song titles unless, again, this gets hot. So it's cool packaging. I'm glad to have this on vinyl. So that's my Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar version of Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I hope you enjoyed it. And check back for more episodes. I continue to film them and post them. Try to post 1 or 2 every weekend. Check me out on Facebook and also on YouTube. Like, share, follow, tell your friends who are into classic rock. The more feedback, the better. And I appreciate everyone who takes the time out to watch these videos. Hope you enjoy them. Have a great day.